Indigenous people are particularly vulnerable to the effects of climate change, with many of them forced to move away as their traditional lands become uninhabitable. Adaptation is becoming increasingly important for these communities to continue to live sustainably off the land. Well, joining me now is Gideon Sanago, a climate change coordinator for the Pastoralists Indigenous Non-Governmental Organisation. So welcome to you. Thank you for coming to talk to us.
Thanks so much.
Why have you come here? What do you want from this summit?
Thank you so much. Indigenous people in Tanzania are mainly Maasai, the Barbaig, those are the pastoralists, and we have the hunter-gatherers groups. So we have two groups in Tanzania who are the mainly indigenous people in Tanzania. And I belong to the Maasai communities in Tanzania. As you said, I work with Pingos Forum. I'm here to represent the voices of the marginalized and vulnerable groups of indigenous people who are affected by the impact of climate change. We are people who are friendly with nature. We are in the front line of the impact of climate change. So I'm here to present their voices to make sure that all the negotiations taking place here, the rights of indigenous people have to be taken into considerations, and this is why I'm here.
And how are your people, your community being affected by climate change right now?
Yes, we are affected by climate change in so different ways. We have the severe droughts that have been, occurring in different places of the country where indigenous people are living. We have witnessed a lot of diseases, both for livestock and the people. And we are people who are, have a kind of cycle grazing management with our livestock, which are cows, sheep, and goats. So these our animals or cows have been affected by the climate change in a way that there's no enough grazing or pasture and lack of water, access to water, not only clean, but access to even water. So we have been moving from one place to another to search for, water and pasture for our livestock. And for the hunter-gatherers communities who I've already mentioned, they are really affected because they depend on nature, they depend on forests, they depend on honey collection of wild fruits for their survival. So because of the climate change impacts, they are now really affected in a way that they cannot access the forest products as they used to. So we are in the front line of the climate change impacts by these communities that we are presenting their voices here. So the other thing is that the riverbeds were dried. So the knowledge of indigenous people that they used over time to predict weather, they are also, affected. We cannot predict the way we used to because of these climate changes. Because we have this amazing, knowledge of indigenous people in weather predictions, in all issues about the forest and land. So we are really, really affected by the climate change.
Of course. So what can be done? I mean, if there was money that was given to Tanzania, could it be spent to help people?
The first and foremost, I think, is not money. It's the issue of recognition of the right of indigenous people. We should really be recognized in terms of land ownership and our way of life, our way of, living with nature. So that's the first and the most important thing, to recognize the right of the people to their land, to access to their forest products, to access to their, all sorts of livelihoods. Now, when it comes to money, we really need this money. We need funding so that we adapt to climate change effect. And just recently, the developed countries announced 1.7 billion for local communities and indigenous people. So for us as indigenous people, we are marginalized, we are vulnerable, we are minority. When you talk about local communities, there are so many people who call local communities. So we need this money to be specifically channeled to indigenous people. Now the question is, how does this money be channeled? Because it has been channeled through different ways, like governments or like other private entities. We need a kind of a specific mechanism to support or to address this money and channel it so that indigenous people can access easily. Otherwise, we'll end up just like promises that there's 1.7 billion that have been sent to indigenous people and support the local communities. But at the end of the day, then they won't really access this funding.
How confident are you that the money will go to the people that you want it to go to?
Well, first and foremost, I think we must, under this COP, we must, lower our expectation. I am not too much optimistic. So I think the money that have been promised, because it's just a promise, it should be really taken into actions. We need now actions than ever, not for tomorrow. Now we need actions. So we need this money, but it should be directed to a right channel. Create a dedicated mechanism for indigenous people so that we can easily access this funding.
You say you're not too confident. Why is that? Do you feel that you're not being listened to here?
We are listened, and I think the way that we really need to be listened is to reflect the human rights and the rights of indigenous people within the text. For example, the sub-star under the COPs discussion is taking place. We want to see the text, the specific text that address the right of indigenous people. That's why, because I'm saying, money is just not enough to say we are channeling money to indigenous people. What about the right of indigenous people? What about the human rights-based approach? So this is what we are really seeking all, and as well as the nature-based solutions. That is another very important thing that we need to be addressed.
Give us some idea of some of the nature-based solutions that could help.
Like land and territories of indigenous people, and our knowledge to forests and land management, water management, our landscape, because the remaining forests today, as we speak, the remaining forests today, for instance in Tanzania, are found at indigenous people land. So we are friends to nature. We want to see all these negotiations reflecting the needs and concern and the right of indigenous people.
And to what extent should indigenous communities be part of the conversation about change? Because they're the people that know the land so well. Do you have trust that they will be included in decision-making about what happens next?
We should build a kind of trust and mutual kind of working together to ensure we attain the results. So it's my hope that at the end of these COPs or ongoing discussions should really bring the voices of indigenous people. And at the end of the COP, we would like to see the positive references of the issue related to indigenous people within the outcome of this COP.
Well, we will wait and see and perhaps come back at the end of the week and tell us. But Gideon Sanago, thank you very much indeed for talking to us today.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.